All right, guys. So I did a survey asking you guys, would you be interested in me doing an interview with OnlyFans model Allie Rae, who reached out to me to do an interview after I did a video about how allegedly adult entertainers like her and strippers are making less money than they were during the pandemic, okay? Which could be an indication that we're headed towards a recession. Now, 75% of you said that you would be interested in seeing the interview, and there were a whole lot of interesting comments as well, too, that you guys left about me potentially doing this interview, and I decided that, you know what, it would be a good idea to kind of mix it up and to have people on my channel, even though I don't necessarily agree with them or their lifestyle or the things that they do. So that interview went well. It was an hour long, and I'm actually going to put out a preview clip of one of our more fascinating exchanges that I had with Miss Allie Rae, a conversation that you guys are probably interested in regards to her family life, because she does have a husband and 3 sons, and I confront her about how her sons handle their mom doing adult entertainment, and whether or not she would be okay if her son bought home somebody like her that does her line of work. And I think that she gave some fascinating answers that you guys may or may not be interested in. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play the clip of the interview, and I hope you guys enjoy. And one day I will release the whole interview. But for now, enjoy the preview.
I'm a wife, a mother of 3, and I am now currently working as an OnlyFans model, making over $200K a month. I left nursing, not necessarily by choice. I kind of was kicked out when they discovered that I had a side gig.
Just the other night at the bar, someone asked to take a picture with her.
Our boys reacted just kind of how we expected it.
I was mainly shocked. Yeah, we sensed something was happening, obviously, but we no clue this was happening. Yeah, never would have guessed that. Something really shocked.
Let's move on to your family life, because I think this is kind of what my audience would be very interested in as well too. And how do you balance doing this line of work with your family? Now, you say that you have a husband and you have 3 kids, 3 boys. Now, I can't really speak for your husband. I can't really speak for your sons either, but I can imagine this would be a son's worst nightmare, to have his mom on the internet doing the things that you do. Have you experienced any type of, I guess, complaints from your sons, or any experiences where, you know, you may have embarrassed your sons because of the content that you make? Maybe their friends at school discovered some of your content and maybe, you know, brought it up to them or picked on them about it, or anything like that.
So I have 3 boys, 2 of which are adults. And so my adult boy, my adult 2 that are older are no longer in school. Obviously, they're graduated. They were the ones that we took to dinner and actually had to have a conversation with them. As uncomfortable as it was, we are a family that has always been honest and open with each other, and I did not want them finding out, you know, from someone else, or like you mentioned, in a negative way. I really wanted to be able to be honest with them and say, look, this is what's happening. And so the older 2, when I was let go or when I left nursing, is when we took them to dinner to say, look, we're moving, we're leaving, and here's what's happening. And they were definitely shocked by all means, but I think they were a little bit relieved that this was mom doing this with dad, not like mom's running off, or mom's, and even if they ever had any suspicions of anything, I think there was a little bit of reassurance that this was something that, with dad's blessing, that they're, you know, they were doing together, that it wasn't like I was doing something outside of the marriage. And it definitely was awkward, but it's not like it's the conversation around the house now. You know, we don't like discuss it. They obviously know what industry we're in. They have not experienced any negative from their immediate community, which their immediate friend group. They're aware, they're older, they're boys. Their friends are 19, 20 years old as well, and I can't control what they see. I've gone to great lengths to block all their friends, to do whatever I can. I could tell you my boys don't want to accidentally come across this content any more than I don't want them to come across it. So I know there's a lot of concerns that people say that. I have talks with them all the time, like, is everything good? Especially in the beginning, like, please let me know if anything's going on, like anyone giving you a hard time. I wanted to be aware of that, and they have never had any backlash from that. The youngest, on the other hand, is homeschooled. And so we're fortunate where he doesn't have to worry about that within school or anyone, bringing something up to him. We've been fortunate for that. But I do think he's a little young to understand the full scope of what's happening. I don't think any of them really need to know details, but we have not had the talk with him on actually the type of content that we're creating. I think he knows mom's a social media influencer. He knows mom has an Instagram. I think he knows those things, and he does know those things. I do know that, but he's not really aware of what's happening with the OnlyFans.
But inevitably, they're going to stumble across it because you're doing interviews like this. You're doing interviews in the New York Post. I mean, I've done probably 2 interviews about you, not interviews, videos about you. Just because your name is just, when people talk about OnlyFans, like you're like the kind of the poster child for a success story on OnlyFans. So inevitably, they're going to come across some of your content. They're going to see mom's face. They might not see her name, but they're going to see her face. And how do you respond to that?
I think the older 2 have already seen me on interviews. They know that they've been interviewed themselves, the older 2, which they agreed to be interviewed to talk about how it's affected their life. We had a little mini documentary done, and they were fine with that. The youngest, it is a concern of ours. My husband and I think about it every day. When is the age appropriate time for us to have this conversation with him? My content is obviously locked behind a paywall. So if he came across my Instagram, it's really nothing terrible. I mean, it's not like it's the stuff that I would be really, really horrified for, obviously, our youngest to come across would be stuff that is behind a paywall, that he's underage and he wouldn't see that. Does that mean somebody couldn't evilly be shove it in his face? Absolutely. And I don't really know what my answer to that is to your audience. Or obviously I would be concerned it's no different than me being concerned of him accidentally walking in on my husband and I in the bedroom, or me walking in on the shower. I mean, there is a level of concern there, and I do what I can to block him and anyone that he associates with. The most hate they've received has been online. Especially after the documentary, people can be incredibly mean, and not just attacking me, but began attacking my children online. And that broke my heart because I had no control to be able to filter that. I will say we have had a lot of talks with our boys who are incredibly confident, strong men who they're ready for it. Like, they know that the judgment that their mother has. It's not to say they support what I do, but they support the decision. They support our freedom and decision to be able to do what his father and I want to do. And I don't think they want to see me torn down any more than they would want to see anyone else. And so with that in mind, they definitely, would advocate for themselves. Like, this is my mom's life, and I fully believe they would go to defense for themselves.
Got it. One more question I have about your sons, and I got a quick question about your husband, and then we'll move into the whole, recession, the economy thing, and what you're experiencing. Would you be okay with your sons bringing home a woman that does the line of work that you do?
If he was just dating her recreationally, I think one could argue that Instagram is quite racy itself nowadays. There's a lot of girls on Instagram that put things on there that are pretty, they're not always the greatest light. A lot of people have asked me this question before. Do I have a problem? I guess the basic question is, do you have a problem with your sons consuming adult content? And
that's not really the question. More specifically is, how would you feel if your sons brought home a hardcore adult film star?
Brought her home for dating?
From dating or marriage?
For dating, I probably wouldn't really butt myself in. I would just see how it rides out. If he seriously considered taking something serious with her, or any kind of marriage or anything like that, I absolutely would want to sit down with him and talk to him about, you do realize what you're opening yourself up to, that this is content she's created potentially with other people, that is online. This will be your wife one day. Do you want this type? The thing about my husband is it's his wife's and him. It's me and him. So it's different. So yes, I would absolutely tell my son, like, you really need to think about this, because she may not want to discontinue this industry. Are you going to join and be a part of it? What is the scoop here? So I would definitely want to have a conversation about him and with her about where her intentions are with going with that, and how he truly feels, knowing that one day you could be working and your buddy could be looking up your wife, and you need to be okay with that. And that would be his personal decision. I would honestly leave that up to him, but I would certainly, as a mother, try to expose him to really think about all the ramifications of it and if he truly is okay with it.
Yeah, so I've heard stories about how in some instances, you know, two adult stars will start dating or whatever, and one of them, you know, will get dragged. Well, one brought another one into the industry, and because of kind of how the industry works or whatever, they'll get dragged into working with other people. Um, with the relationship between you and your husband right now, it seems like, according to what you're saying, you're only doing content with him. Is he concerned that this could progress into something that is a lot bigger and more involved than what it is? Because I mean, I feel like at some point you probably already have, but at some point you're going to be approached about doing things that are more than what you're doing right now to elevate your brand and your stardom.
I do not consider myself a porn star. I would never do porn. I do not have it. That's not what my brand or any of this is even built around. My entire community is built around the fact that I am Steven's wife. This is our marriage, our intimacy. You are having a sneak peek into our life. It's never even been my brand to branch out of that. I actually will block someone instantly if they have anything negative, even if they say like, I want to do something with you. I'm very strict about that on my page. So no, that is absolutely never, it's not even something that I would be interested in. So there's no concern for my husband either. This is something we went into doing together, as we will come out of it together. It will never be something that we, like other guys in the situation, it's not, that's not even an option.
So,
Yeah.
so again, I just want to be clear here that, you know, I'm just asking questions that I think that my audience would be interested in. I think some people would characterize what you're doing as, you know, porn, right? I think some people would, but you know, you seem to not characterize it as that. You seem to see it as something where it's like, well, I'm just making adult content. I'm not doing what we traditionally think about as, you know, pornography, right? Which, you know, again, I think some people will argue with you about the definition of that and what you're actually doing. So with that being said, your husband is 100% okay with it. And do you think that he's okay with it because he's proud of what you're doing and what you're doing together? Or do you think it's more about, well, my wife is making a whole lot of money, you know, I guess this is the best course of action. I guess the money makes up for it. What do you think?
No, I feel like this is something we both, I will say this a lot. We have a lot of couples on our channel as well, that are looking for ways to spice their, you know, love life up, their intimacy. There's a lot of curious couples, things like that. What we've really built is together, and it is about the whole brand of it is about letting people have a peek into our intimacy. And so no, I don't feel like he feels like his wife's making a lot of money, because the reality is I would not be making this much money without him. The videos are what is most profitable for us and what people are there for. But I think, you know, there's a lot of opportunity also on the platform where I do talk with a lot of couples together. We've done calls with them to kind of talk about ways to really rebuild your sex life, or find spice, or find the time, or juggling between kids and work. And people may think, roll their eyes at that. It's like, oh, you're educational, but it's like, it's true. There are people that truly enjoy seeing something what they consider a little more softcore, or a little more tasteful, however you want to put it. Like you said, I think by definition, absolutely, it's porn, but it's a little different when it's like, this is a married woman and this is her husband and they're doing this together. And so some people look at it as a little bit less harsh, I guess you should say, and it's a little easier for them to watch.